And we're back. The Incredible Hoax. I am Chris.
I'm Mark.
We're continuing our odyssey of lambasting the Academy for giving the Oscar to the wrong film or person.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the rules is they have to be a nominee. I can't make it my official entry for this discussion and say if this movie that wasn't nominated should have won over this one that was. I got to stick to what they gave me.
Yeah, we need a segment where I can gripe about stuff that should have been nominated.
Like it wasn't even nominated at all.
Yeah,
that's like a whole other thing, though. I agree with you, but that's valid.
I will stick to the rules.
Well, the problem is you have to have a little bit of guidelines, or else you could just be pulling things out of left field and stuff like that.
Sure.
So you can only go with what you're given. So I'm trying to keep with where you're going.
Sure, I'm with you.
You know, I mean,
maybe like I said, we can do a small segment on the.
We'll do a small segment.
Yeah,
shoulda, woulda, coulda got nominated.
Yeah, because I got some good ones. Oh,
all right,
boy.
So we're gonna move into the best director area. And we're not going to do a long one, like two-parter like we did. We're going to keep this to one. You got one to complain about. You can do one. You can mention a couple honorable mentions, but you got to have one egregious error you have to point out.
Okay.
So, you want me to lead, or you want to do it?
Yeah, go ahead, lead. Yeah.
All right. First off, and we're keeping with the 1977 rule.
Yes.
Because we're using 1977 as our landmark point where Star Wars got hosed, and so everything after that. So
yeah, the modern era.
So. Having said that rule, my all-time egregious one, all-time is Coppola for The Godfather losing to Bob, what's his name?
Fosse.
Bob Fosse for Cabaret, which doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even remotely make sense to me. Like, not even a little bit does it make sense. You could get out, like, calculators and slide rules and astrophysics engineers to try and explain it. I'll never understand how that happened. But I can't use that one. So, in the modern era, there's a lot of good choices here. Part of me wants to go Quentin Tarantino losing the Zemeckis in '94. Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump, respectively. Don't want to go that one as my official entry. So I looked through the nominees in between shows to refresh my memory. Mm-hmm. And one did jump out. There's several jumped out at me. But one I felt most compelled to say. And that is David Fincher losing for The Social Network to something Hooper for The King's Speech. Thom? I don't know how you say it. Thom? It's not Toby Hooper who made, Poltergeist and Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
I think it's his cousin in England.
It's Tom Hooper, right?
Hooper. Yeah, but it's spelled weird. It's not like Tom, like T-O-M. It's like Thum. Some British stupid way of saying it.
The H is silent, yes.
So I won't call him Hooper. So Hooper beat out David Fincher for Social Network. Now, Social Network really, at its core, was just a well-scripted movie. It's like maybe the best scripted movie, or best script for a movie in the last 10 years or something like that. I mean, it's freaking phenomenal. It's like maybe the best script of this modern post-'99 era. But Fincher, it's just a great movie. The movie was built. I've said it before. That movie to me plays like a revenge movie. It's almost like a revenge movie because it was Zuckerberg is portrayed as this angry guy just getting revenge on the world, and for all his anger and being misunderstood and the nerd and the outcast and all that stuff. So he directs it that way. It's exciting. It takes a movie that could have been boring in the hands of a lesser director. It could have been very boring. I just knocked over my glass, but it had a lid on it. It could have been very boring. It could have been very subdued. It could have been a very old white people in rooms sort of. But no, it was exciting. It was visceral. It had. What are you doing?
We're supposed to hurry. We're already at 4 minutes.
We're only doing one movie.
Okay.
No, I mean, the show length is the same.
Oh, okay.
We're not going to do 5 movies a piece.
I got you.
Anyway, I'll just take that as my nudge. I'll wrap that one up. So there.
I will say that one is like our earlier discussion where we were talking about Goodfellas and Dancing with Wolves.
Yeah. I'm listening.
He just bailed on me.
I'm
The
listening.
distance between those two, I think, are really close. So that one, I think, I don't know that I would call that one egregious, but I thought David Fincher did a great job.
Well,
On
see,
it,
Fincher's
so-
never going to win. I just he's one of those guys I don't think will ever win, and that was the closest shot I think he had. And I like Fincher a lot.
Yeah,
he's not
me
one of my.
too,
He's
me
not
too.
an all-time favorite. Don't get me wrong. He's not an all-time favorite. I love Fight Club. I like the look of his movies. He's very unique look.
Sure.
I even like his commercials stuff. Like the commercials he did for I think Gap around Christmas time were freaking phenomenal. I don't know if you saw that whole campaign.
It's been a while.
Like all these black and white. It was just cool. I mean, I loved Zodiac. Zodiac was a completely underrated movie. So I felt like that was his closest moment. You know what I mean? And another one I don't mention off the road is Ridley Scott losing to Soderbergh for Gladiator and Traffic, respectively.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's a good movie for Traffic. I know Soderbergh did a good job. I just wanted, like, sentimentally, I wanted Ridley Scott to win. So it's more of a sentimental thing. Because Ridley Scott, again, will probably never win. You know, and he should. And so I kind of feel the same way with Fincher. He'll probably never win, but I wish he would have.
Well, you know,
maybe some degree that's sentimental on my part. But I do think Social Network was way better than King's Speech. But you like King's Speech better.
I did. I know
Clock's ticking.
Ridley Scott, Black Hawk Down. You're talking about Ridley Scott. Black Hawk Down, I thought was a really good film as well. I think he got nominated for director.
He did,
but he lost.
But not picture. The picture wasn't nominated. It was just the director was.
Yeah. So that's a shame too. That would have been another chance for him to get an Oscar nod or an Oscar win.
So what was your entries into this discussion?
In 1983, James L. Brooks won Best Director for Terms of Endearment.
Okay.
It should have been Philip Kaufman for The Right Stuff.
Ooh, brilliant choice. Brilliant choice.
Terms of Endearment, once again, not to overuse the whole should have been a TV movie thing, but Terms of Endearment.
It kind of was.
But it kind of was. I mean, it's well made. Has really good performances in it.
Mm-hmm.
But Philip Kaufman, what he did with The Right Stuff is he essentially made one of the best films of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of substance. It is epic.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also intimate with each of the astronauts. You get to know all of them. All of them have their moment. There's the coordinating of the aerial effects, and it's just a top-notch Hollywood masterpiece.
But
It really is.
Again, kind of like Fincher with Social Network, he made what could have been a boring movie into a really exciting movie and fun movie. The Right Stuff is fun.
Right.
It's got a really slick sense of humor that goes throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, it's surprising how much humor is in that film.
Yeah.
So it's never boring. It moves pretty
Rapidly.
Yeah,
like the locust sound.
Pace.
Like the locust sound. Every time a reporter shows up, there's a locust sound. Every time. And you don't really catch it maybe the first time, but it's there subconsciously.
Yeah.
And it's repeated. You're like, oh, there's like a locust sound every time. That's just smart little touches he added to the movie. You know? It was a brilliant job.
Well, yeah, the way when John Glenn is orbiting the planet, but you have that juxtaposed with the Aborigine, and they're lighting the fires, and then he's seeing the fireflies, and that whole sequence it's just really wonderfully shot and has some mystery to it, but also there's something wrong with his capsule, so there's the tension too. Just a really good mesh of different moods going on.
I think it's when he's doing the reentry. I'm okay. You know, he's he keeps rattling, shaking.
Yeah,
it's a brilliant movie. Well, the main thing about Right Stuff is it had everything. It was visionary, and it was information, and it told the story. And it just had a little bit of everything. Handled stuff that in other movies was boring, like the wife at home sort of bemoaning the husband who's career obsessed or whatever. That's kind of overdone in movies. Even that was done well. So it just handled all the plot elements. I would say it's one of those movies that I put on my top 25 of all time. I love that movie. And so yeah, I totally agree that I would totally went with Kaufman in that movie. Who did you lose to again?
James L. Brooks for Terms of Endearment.
That's crazy. All right, so what else? Yeah, honorable mention. That's your entry into the thing. What's your honorable mention? I said Godfather, the first one. Honorable mention.
Oh, well, if we're doing like before post 1977,
sure.
It's like Carol Reed winning for Oliver, and then Stanley Kubrick not winning for 2001: A Space Odyssey. I mean, what is that?
Would you say that was your all-time one? The one that just drives you nuts the most, all-time? Like I think,
yeah.
In all honesty, I think the most egregious one is Coppola losing to Fosse.
That's up there, but that'd be my top 5. That one really annoys me. It's like, gosh.
So would you say?
I'm telling you what, that Star Wars, the George Lucas thing not winning is number 1. That one still bothers me.
Yeah.
But
the only reason I wouldn't say that one is because the Lucas diminished sense. Because I'm dealing with now, and that was then.
Yeah.
At the time, I would agree with you. Now, because of Lucas's antics in the last 20 years, he just makes it really hard to like him. He makes it really hard to like the guy.
Yeah, I try to separate like present
I agree.
disappointments
Yes.
and that achievement by itself. But I would also say Warren Beatty, he won for Reds and beat Steven Spielberg for Raiders of the Lost Ark. I would put that also in my top 5. One of the worst egregious. Like, what was that? And we already mentioned Francis Ford Coppola earlier for Apocalypse Now, and he lost to.
This is Robert Benton, right?
Did he lose to Robert Benton?
Well,
for Kramer versus Kramer.
I think so.
I know I wrote it down. Let's see.
What do you got? I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah. He sure did. That one, that'd be up there too.
Wow.
Shocking.
Wow. Well, we'll see what the Academy does in the future. This year, my favorite directing wasn't even nominated, so that was the guy that made Whiplash. I can't even think of his name now. That was my hands down, I thought, the best overall movie of the year. So, we'll see what they do in the future.
I'd like to see Wes Anderson bring it home for the Grand
Of who's nominated, that would not bother
Budapest Hotel.
Of who's nominated?
He's a visionary director, and he's made some of the films I've admired them, but necessarily I haven't liked them. And but I think his last 2 films have just been marvelous pieces of art, and I'd love to see him bring that Oscar home.
I think that one of these days they're going to have to recognize Tarantino. They're going to have to recognize Fincher. They're going to have to recognize Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott is getting up there in age. He's he's not getting any younger, and he's still as active as anybody, and more active than a lot. So I'd like to see him get honored one of these days.
Yeah, I think Ridley Scott's reached the point where he's going to be an honorary.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll win one for his movie, but I think he will get an honorary one.
Right. And again, go back to Scorsese finally won one, and that was just a huge oversight for years until he finally won one. And then Tarantino is well known as a writer, and he's won 2 writing Oscars. Mm-hmm. That's great, but good gosh, he's so original. Well, he's so not original, but original. You know what I mean? He's like this big buffet of all these little pieces he puts together in an original way. I'd love to see him get hit. I'd hate for him to go a career and not get that directing Oscar.
Yeah,
he's so unique.
But I could see it happening in his case because he likes to tackle
genres,
unpopular subjects. Shall we say?
Well, yeah, he does these genre type pictures. And things, so anyway, we'll see. So,
but I'm all for it.
All right. Well, there you go. Stay tuned. I think we're going to do acting.
Sounds good.
Acting next. So we'll see you on the next one where the acting oversights by the Oscars.